Radhika Sai Kumar, and I'm back with another story. It has been a great pleasure for touring around the world and visiting new places virtually. It even helped me to gain knowledge and feel entertained throughout this pandemic close down. And today, I'm going to be taking you to a tour to the Panthéon of Paris. So let's travel! Congratulations! We have made it to the magnificent Panthéon of Paris. Now, let me tell you more about this historical monument. The Panthéon, from the classical Greek word panthéon, which means temple to all the gods, is a monument in the 5th arrondissement of Paris, France. It is located in the area known as the Latin Quarter, standing atop the Montagne Sainte-Geneviève. At the center of the place, the Panthéon, which was named after it. The edifice was built from 1758 to 1790 over the designs of Jacques German Soufflot at the behest of King Louis XV of France, who meant it as a church dedicated to Saint Geneviève, the city's patron saint, whose relics were to be housed there. Neither Soufflot nor Louis XV, however, lived to see the church completed. By the time the construction was finished, the French Revolution had started, and the National Constituent Assembly voted in 1791 to transform the Church of Saint Geneviève into a mausoleum for the remains of distinguished French citizens, modeled on the Pantheon in Rome, which had been used in this way since the 16th century. The first Panthéonist was Honor Gabriel Riqueteau, Comte de Mirabeau. Although his remains were removed from the place a few years later, the building was twice restored to church usage in the course of the 19th century. Although Soufflot's remains were transferred inside it in 1929, until the French Third Republic finally decreed its exclusive use as a mausoleum in 1881. The placement of Victor Hugo's remains in the crypt in 1885 was the first one in over 50 years. Successive changes in the building's purpose resulted in modification of the pediment's decoration, the capping of the dome by a cross or a flag, and some of the originally existed windows were blocked up with masonry in order to give the interior a darker and more funereal atmosphere, which compromised somewhat Soufflot's initial attempt at combining the lightness and brightness of the Gothic cathedral with classical principles. The architecture of the Panthéon is an early example of neoclassicism, surmounted by a dome that owes some of its character to Bremen's Tempietto. As of 2018, the remains of 78 people have been transferred to the Panthéon, including those of 73 men and 5 women. More than half of all the Pantheonization were made under Napoleon's rule during the First French Empire. In 1851, Leon Foucault conducted a demonstration of diurnal motion at the Panthéon by suspending a pendulum from the ceiling, a copy of which is still visible today. King Louis XV vowed in 1744 that if he recovered from his illness, he would replace the dilapidated church of the Abbey of Saint Geneviève with a grander building worthy of the patron saint of Paris. He did recover, but 10 years passed before the reconstruction and enlargement of the church was begun. In 1755, the director of the King's Public Works, Abel Francois Payson, Marquis de Marigny, chose Jacques German Soufflot to design the church. Soufflot, 1713 to 1780, had studied classical architecture in Rome over 1731 to 1738. Most of his early work was done in Lyon. Saint Geneviève became his life's work. It was not finished until after his death. The carving located at the roof of Pantheon represents an angel giving blessings to saints. This carving was placed after this church was named as a mausoleum. The Battle of Austerlitz were held there. However, the crypt of the church kept its official function as a resting place for illustrious Frenchmen. A new entrance directly to the crypt was created via the eastern porch. 1809 to 11. The artist Antoine Jean Gros was commissioned to decorate the interior of the cupola. It combined secular and religious aspects of the church. It showed the Genii being conducted to heaven by angels in the presence of great leaders of France, from Clovis I to Charlemagne to Napoleon and the Empress Josephine. During the reign of Napoleon, the remains of 41 illustrious Frenchmen were placed in the crypt. Napoleon Bonaparte, when he became the first consul in 1801, signed a concordat with the Pope, agreeing to restore former church properties, including the Panthéon. The Panthéon was under the jurisdiction of the canons of the Cathedral of Notre Dame de Paris. Celebration of important events such as the victory of Napoleon at the Battle. Like this, I conclude this tour. Hope you find it knowledgeable. Thank you for listening to the story. Hope you like it. Bye.